We are now live. Hey, everybody, it's David, and we are here with Never Trust a Skinny Chef, Shane Robbins, and Dave Ruff, Trike Flyer. And so the subject that Shane had brought up and he wanted to talk about as a new pilot, when is it okay to speak up and say, hey, I see something that may be wrong? Shane, why don't you talk about this, maybe the situation that you were in the other day, and we can start with that and then take it from there. And as the chat starts to light up a little bit, we'll get some feedback and maybe some questions, and other new pilots who also are wondering, should I say something? I'm a new pilot. Do I know what I know, and should I speak up about it?
Well, I want to say, I'm not going to name names or situation particular, but I went up and flown early morning, and I got up about 150 feet and found out the winds were way above what I wanted them to be. Apparently the app that I was using was incorrect. I hurried up and landed, and then as a new pilot, I told another guy that is way more experienced than me that the winds are aloft are not good. And he went up and everything was fine for him. I was like, okay, great. For me, it scared me. I mean, when the wing is literally shooting and dipping and you're actively flying that, to me, that's not comfortable for me. I had to get down. But then I watched someone else that has even less flights than myself be told by some other people that this person was with, it's okay to fly. They had already been up. I was like, whoa, she has only a couple of flights. And I was just like, I don't know about that. But the people she came with was all telling her, let's go. And I was just like, I don't know about that. I wanted to go over and say, listen, I just flown. The winds were crazy. They were shifty, very gusty at over 150 feet. But I didn't. And then I got to thinking to myself, what happens if that girl would have gotten hurt, if she would have crashed? Mm-hmm. Because I didn't say whether or not she should be flying or not, or say, maybe I don't think you should. As a new pilot myself, where do I get off telling another pilot anything? So I'm kind of battling with myself, if you will. What is the right thing to do and what isn't the right thing to do?
Okay, so let's try to answer that question. And first of all, let's say hi to everybody. Hobbs, I'm sorry, I keep saying Hobbs. Cross Country Adventures, David, Wolford, Nick, John, Bill, John of the Jungle, and Kelby Cox. And I know there's some other people watching that haven't made a comment yet. So hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this Monday night. Tonight, we're talking with Shane Robbins, Never Trust a Skinny Chef. Shane was just describing, if you're just tuning in now, about an incident that happened this week where he was on the field, went up and flew. Winds were really, really gusty. Landed, saw some other folks that were in town flying the field that he was at. A young lady was there as well, and they were encouraging her to go up and fly, but she was actually even less tenured, and he was nervous to speak up and say something. And that's kind of the topic of the conversation. At what point is you as a new PPG pilot should speak up and say something? So if you're watching this, if you've got something similar that happened to you and how you handled it, might help Shane out. That's why we're kind of doing this little Monday night special. But it's a great topic. I mean, we're all here to look out for each other, and we always want to be safe. Shane, a little background on you then is, how long have you been flying?
I finished school at Four Winds the first part of November, and I have, I think I'm at 84 flights right now.
Okay, so that's not brand new, wet behind the ears. I mean, you've flown, how many hours do you think you have up there?
On my motor, I have 22 hours right now.
Okay, so you've got some experience.
Yes.
It's not like you've been flying as long as Dave has, or certainly there's a lot of people who have flown even longer than that. So John of the Jungle offered his thoughts here. Is all we can do is offer our observations of the conditions, but ultimately they have to decide for themselves. Pilot in command, right? They're the pilot in command at the end of the day. Even when Harley was flying with us here, hey Kevin, And Sean and Jim and Jason and Angela just joined the chat as well. But when Harley was here, you know, I'm looking up there going, oh, I don't know if we should be flying today. It's really, really windy. But ultimately, he was piloting command and he jumped right in and took off. And, you know, I'm starting to realize, and Dave, you and I have talked about this too. I don't know how much I'm really trusting these apps, these Ryan Carlton websites, because sometimes I'll get up there. It might be a little bit bumpy. When I get up a little even higher where it's saying that it's real gusty or real bad, it's smooth as can be. So it's kind of hard to even trust those. So tell us again, for those that didn't hear, how did you handle this situation?
I didn't say anything, and I felt horrible because if something would have happened, it would have eaten at me. And honestly, it's bothered me enough that I contacted you and asked you about wanting to do a show about this, because it truly is. I know from going to school, I know I was told not to, you know, you got guys that are more experienced. They say they go up in the air and say, oh, the air is fine. And then you find out when you get up there as a rookie that it's not. Now you're in a situation that is above and beyond your control.
Yeah.
And I thought personally that it was my place to say something, but I just didn't, because it just didn't feel, I don't know. I didn't want to I didn't want to step on any toes or make anybody think, oh, what does this guy do? He's got a few hours under his belt and now he's coming out here telling everybody what to do. I didn't want to, that's not what I wanted to do. I just wanted to share my concern, and hopefully that person wouldn't have left the ground, but they did, and everything was fine.
Yeah. You know, I'll tell you something. Jason Parker, not Jason. What is it? Jason Parker says, personally, I'm thankful if anyone offers me advice, as long as they are respectful. As long as they are respectful, information is power. And he's right. So,
yeah.
Even if you were day one, I mean, imagine this. So, if you were day one out of training and went back to your field, but you just have all this information fresh. You just went to a good school. You have all this great information in front of you. You know what's the right thing to do. And maybe some people have been flying for a while and they got complacent, and they're not doing the right things, or they're not seeing the right things. Or like we talked about on the phone, maybe as you're walking by and they're getting ready to launch, you see a line on the wrong side of the wing tip, and that, you know, if they're about to go take off, they're going to have a cravat and they're going to have an issue.
Well, I did have a situation on that very same day where someone does not get a chance to do reverses very often where they live. And I watched 3 or 4 failed launches because they weren't holding the A's very long. And then we're letting them go too soon. Now, this person has a ton of hours of fly time. And I was just like, so as the wing came down, I literally went over and just asked them if the person wanted help with setting the wing back up. They said yes. And then I just pointed over at 2 other people and said, they're saying that you're not holding A's long enough. And then I turned and ran away. So,
so I'm going to read John's comment here, and I want you to imagine that this is the young lady speaking to you after the fact. Exactly what he wrote. Okay. John says, I let another pilot talk to me into flying in conditions that were honestly above my skill level at the time. I survived, but I still regret flying that day. So, well, this young lady that you were watching had other guys encouraging her to go up and fly. Maybe that's what she would have said. Maybe if you would have said, hey guys, I was just up there, it's really rough. So depending on how comfortable she is, you may or may not want to, maybe someone else can go up and test it, and who knows her better. Dave, I want your thoughts. What are your thoughts there, Mr. Ruff?
I've actually got 2. One's a story involving you when I was out there in Ohio, and you were looking at some conditions. And do you remember me pointing out that there was possible shear up there?
Yes, we were looking at the Ryan Carlton app, or we were looking at clouds too.
Both. I looked at the Ryan Carlton, and you said, well, yeah, but hey, according to Ryan Carlton. And if you remember, I said, yeah, but hey, look at those clouds.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, you certainly weren't new. I probably wasn't much more experienced than you, but I remember telling you, hey, this is not going to be a good idea. I mean, if you want to go, we can go. Because I didn't see anything real dangerous. I just saw it's going to be a real bumpy ride. And I remember you saying, okay, hey, we don't have to fly today. I would have probably pushed it to the point he said, well, hey, let's go. I probably would have pushed it to the point of, hey, Dave, you probably really don't want to do this. But ultimately, I would have let you make your own decision unless I saw something really dangerous. And I said, no, Dave, don't go. Don't do this. And then I would have told you why, of course. I would have qualified it. I know that one of the best things, and this is the second thought, I know that one of the best things, even as a new pilot, an old pilot, a bold pilot, anything, is no matter where you go, even if it's your home field, watch what the other pilots are doing. And I didn't do this once, and there's a video of it where it knocked out my helmet cam and my chase cam stayed on. And I thought I was going to die. I actually, in the video, you hear me talking about why I'm positioning myself to be able to toss a reserve. And it's because I did not ask the local pilots why they weren't flying when it was clearly forward conditions. And I found out real quick. So even as a new pilot, an old pilot, or anything else, doesn't matter what you know, watch what the other pilots are doing. And that's going to save your butt 99% of the times.
That's a great advice.
I'm sorry. I have an, remember I told you I went up and then turned around, came back and landed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I had two experienced guys going, I would never go up in this. I was like, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me? Like,
they don't have to.
I know. I misread or did not understand or what have you, the app that I was looking at. It said literally, it was like 5 miles an hour on the ground, and at 150 feet, it was 22. Yeah.
Wow.
And that's what gets people killed, is usually within the first 300-400 feet. If there's a shear level or a violent change, that's what folds wings. You don't have the altitude, you spin in.
Yeah, I was fighting this wing the entire time. Once I got at 50 feet, the wing calmed down, and I was almost going to land across, probably a mile away from, well, actually I shouldn't say a mile, maybe a half mile across this canal where I was going to have to figure out how to get all my gear back across it. But it was to the point where I was like, I don't care. I got to get my feet back on the ground. I literally came in almost, I would say a slightly crosswind on my landing. I didn't care. I wanted my feet on the ground. I came in, took a knee, landed, stood back up, put my wing away, and I was like, dude, I'm done. And then I turned around, and what do I see? I see someone with less experience getting ready to take off. I was just like, oh my God.
You know why? Because to that girl, you're a local or you're a pilot that knows more. And if you're flying, well, yeah, why shouldn't she?
I already told these people I'm new. I'm new.
Dave, I have a question for you. You travel the country as much, if not more, than most or anybody else that I know, and you fly in different areas. Can you tell the difference in different parts of the country that the flying is different and that you change things, little nuances, maybe a little turn here on the motor?
Absolutely. And especially this year, because this is really my third season going through. So these flying sites are starting to become into my home sites. The first year I didn't really have a clue. I'd do site briefings. I mean, guys, when you show up to a new site, doesn't matter if you have 5,000, doesn't matter if you have 11,000 hours, you always talk to the locals and say, hey, is there anything that I need to know? Where are the local thermals? Where's the local turbulence? Where's the smooth spots? What's it look like today? The second year, last year, I started really kind of getting to know each site of, okay, these are the local nuances, in each area, to the point where, like, I know in my actual home site. This year, it's come down to the point where I can pretty much take a look at the sky and tell you what's going on, where it's going on, and why it's going on. But that doesn't mean that I stop talking to the local pilots that have been flying there yesterday and that are there right now, either fixing to fly or why are they not flying, because there's still something I can miss.
So as a new pilot, I cannot stress enough flying with other pilots. And if you know anything about me, or if everybody that's watching this is at this point has probably heard of the Tri-State Skywalkers, which is the group that I fly in. It's myself. There's a lot of people in it, but primarily the there's 4 people that really fly together pretty much any day that it's decent weather, and that's myself and Brandon McLeod and Mark Ryder and Patrick Bryant, who, and there's Patrick. Let's see if I can do it right. There's Patrick flying right there to the other night over this beautiful, beautiful sunset that just is absolutely
Nitro 280.
Yeah. So, but we help each other. You know, first of all, we help each other, and we all decide together if it's safe or not safe. If 2 people say it's not safe, we don't fly. That's our rule together. Okay. But obviously too, if you're setting up to launch and maybe you had to have and Brandon's kind of the great guy in this group too, where he's usually tries to be the last off the ground, helping everybody else. So if the wing comes up bad and lays it down, or you had a failed launch, he'll run over there and try to set it up. Unfortunately, one of our pilots, the wing came up over his head, it overshot, came back down, got into his prop and bent his frame. So he was done for the night, but he was okay, and everything seems to work out, and he was actually able to bend it back up by the time we all landed and finished. But I mean, that's there to help you, to spot things, to look at each other. You know, I've learned a lot from all 3 of them, looking at the weather, looking at the clouds, looking at the radars, and seeing everything that's out there. So it's great to fly in groups for that reason, and so many other reasons as well. We've had situations where we've had motor out. I've had a motor out, and the guys had to come pick me up with a truck. So that does have, in fact, now that I think about it, all 4 of us, I believe, maybe not Patrick, but the 3 of us definitely have had motor outs that I can remember where someone else had to come pick them up. But yeah, there's never a time where if you see something, what's it going to hurt to say something? It's not going to hurt anything. In fact, I told you this the other night, Shane. There was a gentleman who I started flying with, part of our group, part of the Skywalkers. His name's David Schmaus, and you might have seen him on a recent video, on Robert Michael's video. He was out at Salton Sea with Chris Holbert. And first time I met Dave, I was watching him getting ready to launch. I didn't have my gear that night, or I think it might have been too wet or too snowy that I couldn't go fly. No, I think I was coming home from work. So I stopped by the field where they were all launching at, just to say hi and watch a little bit. And I'm looking at Dave, I'm thinking, he really doesn't have a lot of fuel. Same thing, Shane. I was too embarrassed to say anything. I was too nervous to say anything. What do I know? You know, and I was just meeting these guys for the first couple times. And sure enough, he ran out of fuel in flight. And of course, that messed everybody up, because now they have to go find him in a field and bring him back. So if I would have said something, hey, man, I think you might need a little bit more fuel, it might have changed the whole outcome for all their nights and made it a more enjoyable night.
Actually, and the funny thing about that, Dave, is you don't even have to say, hey, do you need some more fuel? You'd look at it and say, man, you must get some really serious fuel burn. I see you have, 3 liters and you're going out for a flight. You're not taking on somebody. You're actually asking them a question of, hey, what do you get for fuel burn, man? Because, hey, we all like to talk about that, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he's like, oh, hey, you know what? You're right.
Yeah, that's a great spin on it. And Sean Ferguson said, by the way, here, as I'm just trying to read as the chat's going by, but Sean says, he's flown alone for 2 years, and it's awesome to have buddies to fly with. And as Dave can tell you too, when you go to a fly-in and you have a mechanical error in flight or something else goes wrong, there's your buddy to come with his little red pickup truck to pick you up with his motor, right, Dave?
You do it for me, and I know you would.
Do it for you. Absolutely.
There's one other thing, if I can, real quick too. I recommend everybody get themselves a little notebook. Sarah actually got me one for my free flight and also for my motor, and it's more of a pilot log. Well, what I do is I actually take out my wind meter, and when I'm flying a new site, or within a first 3 or 4 flights at a new place, I'll take a wind reading. Then I'll look up Ryan Carlton, I'll look up Windy, I'll look up, any site that I can, read what's going on, and I'll write that down. And you've heard it in some of my videos of, hey, I'm expecting a bumpy flight, or hey, I'm expecting a smooth flight. It's because I'm taking those readings. And that now starts giving me, when I go back to that site, since it's not my home site, I can take a reading, or I can just feel the air and say, okay, based on what Windy and all these other apps are saying, based on what I've flown in before, it's a go or no go. Mm-hmm. And we'll kind of give you an understanding. And I recommend doing that even at your home site for a while, so that way you kind of have some numbers to fall back on. Not that it's going to be correct 100% of the time, but it's probably going to help you out from getting into some real rough stuff.
That's a terrific idea. I do want to say this, going back to Josh Perry's comment here. Why can't you just ask him, hey, man, do you have enough fuel? So you can be blatant like that, Shane, in a
Yeah.
situation.
But how do you tell somebody that's getting ready to take off, hey, the winds are rough? Do you have enough skill? Like you,
You just walk over. You know, Dave had a great point. You could throw a little sarcasm in them. I might walk over to say, hey, man, I know my Adam 80, man, it feels like it makes fuel while it's up there instead of burning fuel. Is yours the same? Because I see you might be a little bit low there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, man. And the first thing he'll probably say is, oh, man, thanks for letting me know. I would have ran out. So in that case, you know, you might just walk over there and say, hey, man, be careful up there. Man, I was getting knocked around up there. So just be careful. It's really, really bumpy. And that might give him.
I'm usually the wind dummy at places. I don't know why, but I'm usually the wind dummy, and I'm surprised when I come down how many people ask me, hey, how was the air? Was it bumpy? You know, blah blah blah. And I say, and usually if I say, yeah, it was bumpy, or no, it wasn't bumpy, well, what's my bump tolerance versus yours? So the way that I respond is, you know what, I'd send a new student up in that, or I've been flying for so many hours, and yeah, you can fly in it, but yeah, it's pretty bumpy. So, because, again, my bump tolerance might not be David's might not be mine, ours might not be yours. So put it in a perspective that everybody can understand. Yeah, I'd send a new student up in it. Or,
right there too with bump tolerance. And I think you and I just talked about this the other day. I know I was talking with someone, but my bump tolerance is light years away of where it was 6 months ago. I mean, this other night I'm flying there and I'm bumping and it didn't bother me. It was just part of flying to me. So, if you're new to the sport, if you get up there and you go, oh gosh, oh, what was that? It will get easier. It will get better. You will grow. As who did we just have on? Somebody said recently 1% better each time.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was now. Whether it's flying 1% better or doing acro 1% better, always you'll get better 1% each time. You just got to practice.
I have a question for Dave Ruff. So if you're setting up and you're going through your whole routine, everything looks good to you, and someone like myself, I mean, you have tons of hours of flying, and I come up and say, hey, I don't think this is set up right. Like, I would never do that. Like, I would be like, that guy obviously is way better than he knows what he's doing.
Man, I would do that to Kyle O'Glee. I'd do that to Matt Minyard. I'd do that to Tucker. I'd do it to Mark. If I see something that's not set up right, I'd be like, hey, wait a second. Hey, I see this line or blah, blah, blah. Even if I'm wrong and they say, no, it's like this, like, you know what? My mistake, man. It's just something I caught. Most pilots should absolutely be, hey, I really appreciate you looking out for my back, because, yeah, something can go wrong.
Well, I was taught in school.
Right.
That, yeah. So I was taught in school, even though the person that's giving you the advice may not be the best advice, it's advice. Just listen to it. You don't have to take it, but you just listen to it. So I've kind of taken that in this whole watching things. I watch people set up. I watch people take off. I watch people land. And which, by the way, still not good at landing. But
you're getting better.
I'm getting better. Yeah, totally getting better. But I just, when it comes to when do you say something, for me, I don't have enough experience to say yes or no, or this is not safe.
Here's the one thing that I've found at any field that I've ever flown. And yeah, I do travel the country. I don't fly all that many fields, but I travel a lot and fly a lot. Is that any field that I have ever gone to, I think I've run into maybe one or two people that have fired back, sarcastically saying, hey, I know what I'm doing. Anything else that I've ever done, and I do point things out when I see them, everybody else is either really, really thankful, or they're like, hey, I've got this. The few people that have ever been arrogant when they go fly, the other people on the ground are usually the ones talking of what a jerk that person is. Yep. So, you know what? You may end up getting your head ripped off once or twice, and I really doubt it, but you may get that snarky comment. Let them do it.
When you go to a fly-in, and Shane, you probably saw him. There was one morning where someone was flying around and everybody's looking up going, I don't say who it is because I don't want to embarrass him, and he's not in the chat. But everybody's going, what is he doing up there? He's all over the place. So, yeah,
there was a Palm Bay pilot that took off one morning, or one of those, I think it was the evening, maybe it was morning, but one of those guys from Palm Bay took off and he came down. I was like, I shouldn't have been up there. I was like, yeah, I don't think you should have been either.
Now,
Sarah brings up a good point right here, if I can, real quick. And she says, and they might respond with good observation, and here's why I do it that way, though. And you could possibly walk away with some new knowledge. So, you know, it's a learning moment for, you know, one or both.
So a bunch of people in the chat hit a nail on the head. Ego.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the big things I have learned in the last 18 months, talking to a lot of people in the sport, is there are so many people that are so different from me and from you. And that's okay, because we live in America. It's the melting pot of the world, right? But they think completely different. So what you think is black and white is totally great to somebody else. In so many different ways, not just in this subject, but so many different subjects.
Right.
I mean, there's some people that are completely disillusioned, and we're not going to say any names, but you know, there are, okay. And that's okay, because in their reality, that's reality to them. Okay. But here, yes, I think everybody so far that I've seen in the chat agrees that I welcome everything. So here's my true story. And I may have said this before. First time I ever met Mike Cotter of Fly My PPG. He was out here traveling with another gentleman. I believe they were heading down south. And so they came in on Mike's trailer, and I rushed over to the field, and it was a cold winter day. It's about a year ago. And it was probably about 10 o'clock in the morning. And so I show up and I start pulling out my trike, and I'm ready to go fly because the ground is cold in my knowledge. And Mike says to me, hey man, you go fly? I said, yeah, I'm gonna go fly. He goes, oh, okay, that's cool. It's cool. Worry about any, I don't know, turbulence? I said, no, I mean, it's pretty cold out here. It should be too hot and causing turbulence. He goes, you're not really worried about any thermals? Yeah. I said, should I be? He goes, well, let's talk. And the one thing that he took out of that conversation was I was willing to put complete ego aside and listen and learn things that I didn't know, because I wasn't taught about thermals. Okay. Even when it's cold out, I'm thinking, oh, well, the ground's cold. But now I know more. So I think if all of us can always know that there's more to learn. Todd Falstad just put out a video about an hour or two ago about how he went down to Four Winds, and he was getting advice of how he could be better. Todd Falstad, great pilot, airline.
Yankee.
Yep, Yankee. And he still wants to learn. And he's now, making I don't know if you want to call it a campaign or a mission to go out and help other people realize that you should be going back and getting more training, fine-tuning those skills. Okay, we talk about practice kiting. Why? Because it's a perishable trait, a perishable, what's the word I'm looking for? Help me here. You need to keep practicing so you don't forget it. You don't lose it.
Right.
Okay?
It's muscle memory.
Muscle memory. We got to keep practicing and keep getting better and better.
Well, so what I've learned tonight I haven't been able to read the chats, but I would honestly, so say something in a nonchalant kind of way, and well, at least you said something, and you can rest easy with the outcome of what the pilot decides to do.
Yeah, if you do say something, and whether the person is arrogant or not and decides to fly anyway, hey, at the end of the day, you said something. Honestly, guys, anybody that's listening now or later, if you come across an arrogant pilot, you point something out and they're arrogant, hey, you tried. If they're not arrogant, you may learn something, they may learn something. You're probably going to both learn something together, and you're probably also going to make a friend. And that arrogant pilot, every time I've ever seen that happen, that pilot gets up in the air and everybody on the ground sits there and goes, what the hell? And they start talking about that pilot and how arrogant they are. So, I wouldn't worry about it. I just saw somebody in here say something to the effect of Kyle has, balls of steel. Are you going to tell him he's flyable or not? I've challenged Kyle, and Kyle takes time to explain why or why not.
You have, but what about me? If I walked up to Kyle and been like, I don't know about this. Why do you think it's okay?
You know what he's going to do? I'll tell you exactly what he's going to do, because I fly with the dude. Is he's going to look at you and say, well, why do you think that? And he's going to take the time to listen. And if he thinks you're right, he's going to say, you know, you're right. If he sees something else, he's going to take the time to explain why. And I have a perfect example with that. I was flying with him months and months ago. Storms were coming in. In fact, Sarah Cole was just about ready to solo. Or no, she had just soloed. We were out there. Storms were moving through. Big thunderstorms moving through. Some of the prettiest things I ever saw. And I was standing next to Kyle. Everybody's just kind of watching the weather to see what it's going to do. It was evening time. I said, you know what? I'm not going to fly. And Kyle said, you know, keep watching. Let's see what's going to happen. And as it turned out, it was completely flyable. I was the first to launch, and it was the most butter smooth flight I think I've ever taken in Spring Hill, Louisiana. It was absolutely gorgeous watching the storms move off. And he took the time to explain what was going on and why, even though I, as a pilot, turned around and made the decision that I wasn't going to fly. I listened to him and saw the logic in what he was saying. It made sense, make the decision to fly. So if you were to do that, and anybody were to do that, even a brand new student that hasn't even flown, that person, Kyle, and I'm sure that Matt would do this, and you know, all the other big names that, you know, were like, oh my God, you know, this person is going to take the time and explain it to you. And they're also going to take the time, if they're wrong and they see that you're right, they're going to say, hey, you know what? Yep. Okay.
Now let's talk about that for a second. If it's Kyle Oakley, or if it's Matt Minyard, or Kyle Mooney, or Travis Burns, you know these people. You know that they are light years ahead of most of all of us, right? You're probably not going to have to question it because they've probably seen everything and they know how to handle everything.
Well, you know, Matt Minyard is a stunt double for Kyle Mooney, right?
So point is, if you see Joe Schmo, you don't recognize him. You know, there's nothing wrong with going up and introducing yourself. Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Shane, and you know, how you doing? And it's great to meet you. And how you gonna go fly? Yeah, man, I just flew in that. Or yeah, that's or hey, your lines are tangled, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. But,
well, I've already videotaped myself having a riser twist. Literally pulled up my risers and looked at the A-lines who went right to the wing, but I never looked at the risers. Yeah, I took off with that. It wasn't any fun. I did come back quickly though, but nobody was there, so I didn't have anybody tell me to look out for this, which I should have known. But anyways, I just my concern was just I'm not comfortable just walking up to somebody and not knowing, you know, not having the experience that most people have or some people have. So I was just kind of concerned with it. I think that in the next situation that I come across, that I will kind of voice my opinion or bring up, you know, hey, maybe that line should not be crossed like that, or the wing shouldn't be laid out this way, and just see what happens.
Just remember, it's all in the delivery.
mm-hmm.
Oh, my delivery sucks.
I mean, if I were to walk up to Dave, and Dave and I know each other, we've flown together, and you know, he has something wrong with his wing, and I walk up and say, hey Dave, what the hell's up with that line? You know, you really gonna fly that? Dave's gonna probably come back up the rope. But if I walk up to him and say, hey dude, you know, even if I didn't know him, hey dude, I'm noticing that A-line looks, you know, messed up, or your B line's over your A-line, were you aware of that? And at that point he's probably gonna turn around and, oh shoot, you're right. Okay, yeah, let me untwist that. Thank you. So, yeah. I mean, anybody should do that.
In my experience too, most people are receptive to the feedback. They don't want to hear "don't go fly," okay, but just say, hey, just to let you know, this is what I experienced up there. So just be careful if you go up.
Well, I have met a lot of you guys through Swanee, through YouTube, Facebook, and a lot. I mean, everybody's super nice in this community, and it is great to be able to talk to guys that have the experience, and everybody's always warm and welcome. So I don't know why I'm so freaked out about telling somebody or asking somebody to check their set up or what have you. But it's just a concern of mine, and I don't know how to approach it, and that's why I came to you, Dave, and brought this up to you. And I'm glad we had this discussion tonight. It's eased my mind on several things.
Awesome.
It's always good as a friend, or even as not a friend, because you might get a potential friend. I don't know if Dave wants to bring this up, but he sent a text the other day that I didn't come unglued, but I expressed some concern. It's always good. And Dave, you don't have to if you don't want to.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
With your whole getting lifted.
Yeah, go ahead. You can talk about that.
Yeah. So we got a text the other day in the OPN, and Dave
I was excited about this. I thought it was kind of cool, and you thought it was different. You thought of it in a different way that I didn't consider.
Well,
but that's okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. So I'll read you the message.
So it's coconut bra or no coconut bra, lifted or not lifted.
Hey, flotation or no flotation? We can play this game.
Oh,
I know better than that. My flotation is on my gear. I can prove it. I super glued my Velcro closed, so I don't ever have to take it off.
So to put some I guess know about this is, as everybody knows, Dave, Rick, Nicole, and I have a channel, and we talk every day. We'll video call, we'll text, we'll chat. We're involved in each other's lives. We know what's going on. We're also very good friends, despite what the videos might. Although I did think he was mad at me.
we argue like family.
Anyway, yeah, we are family. And all of a sudden, we get this text, or I get this text, and he's fixing to read it.
I can't find it, man. We have so many text messages.
Yeah.
I'm scrolling.
So basically,
I can't find it.
Well, go ahead and tell the story of what happened.
Okay, so I went out yesterday. Yesterday afternoon while my girls were at lacrosse practice, and I think it was okay. So I'll admit it now. It was 12 mile an hour gusting to 23, and I went out and kiting. And first I was a little skeptical. Should I do this? I'll give it a try. I'll just feel it out. First I didn't clip in. I'm like, okay, it's pretty strong, but I can manage this. Clipped in. I was looking like a boss. I was doing great. Okay. And out of nowhere, I'm lifted off the ground about 5 feet, held up for 3 seconds, and then I came back down. Okay. As soon as I came back down, my hands are going like this, rolling up the brakes to bring that thing down to the point where I could pull it in and set. I'm like, okay, I'm unclipping now. That's enough of that. Take it from there.
So
Dave. I was really excited and proud of this, actually. I'm like, it was free fly for the first time.
So it started off with, this was so great, and explains what happened. And of course, all of us don't respond. And finally, I'm the first one that responded and said, dude. And I basically, I didn't read him the riot act, but it was like, that's nothing to joke about. I've seen somebody break their neck in that type of situation. Please don't do that. And Dave didn't go off on me. In fact, he didn't talk to me since yesterday. This is the first time that we're talking. And but basically what it comes down to is, if you've seen something and then you see your friend do something that caused what you saw, of course you're going to say something and say, hey, I'm expressing concern over this. I'm expressing worry over this. This is why you probably don't want to do this. Will Dave do it again? Probably. Have I done it? Oh yeah. I've been lifted 3-5 feet off the ground, holding on to my risers. And I got a good talking to for it too. So, again, it goes back to what you said, Shane, is don't ever be afraid of saying something, even if you don't know the person. It is in the delivery. Absolutely. Right. But, like I said with the fuel thing,
Dave, part of my decision to do that was I felt like, okay, I've kited in this before when we were down at Swanee and it was so darn windy that day. And all these people were kiting and it wasn't a big deal. I'm like, yeah, this isn't so bad. So I kind of felt like 12 is okay. I can handle 12.
And realistically, it really is. It's the upper edge, but now
Now, what I haven't shared with you is I'm probably going to go get an MRI on my shoulder because my shoulder.
Dave is locked and loaded.
No, actually, what I was going to say.
Here's why. This is the same shoulder that when I did fly into the tree and I hung in that tree for and it stressed it out, and I've never gotten it checked until I dropped down from the tree, and it kind of re-injured it again. It was really bad for about a year. The last 6 months have been okay, and I think I re-injured it by kiting. It just pulled so hard.
Oh
and I
yeah,
pulled back
it's
on
a
it.
ton of force.
But the only reason I don't want to go is because I don't want someone to say, "Oh, you can't fly for a while. You gotta let this heal."
So I'm going to equate it like this with what I do for a living, archery. Every single kid that ever gets a bow, what's the first thing they do? They go out to a field and they shoot an arrow straight up into the air. And that arrow goes up, you lose sight of it, and then the reality of gravity sets in your mind. The arrow is going to come down. It's the same thing with the wing. We're all going to push the limits. We're all going to do stupid things. And hopefully you have somebody standing behind you going, you might not want to do that. But sometimes it's appropriate to let, and when I say child, I'm not meaning that in a little term, but sometimes it is appropriate to let the child take the match and burn their finger so they know what it feels like. As long as they're not going to kill themselves, they're not going to, injure themselves seriously. Sometimes it's just appropriate to let them stub that toe.
When we were kids, now that's called child abuse, Dave.
Yeah.
You know what? I drank out of the hose. I rode in the back of trucks without seat belts. We didn't have to wear helmets.
There's new laws since 30 years ago, buddy.
I'm okay.
I know.
Hey, there's nothing like drinking a good 10 seconds worth of water out of a garden hose and having a frog hit you in the lip when it comes out.
Right? I go swimming in my lake every season, and there's some big ass fish in that thing.
Derek Trout just wrote exactly how I felt. He said, I got picked up sideways on Sunday, never stopped giggling, landed on my feet. That's exactly how I was. Like, that's
exactly what I was kiting. I mean, honestly, and I've got two witnesses by the name of Steve Nowak and Alan Tho, who are pro, pre-flight pilots out in California. Watch me get picked up 3 to 5 feet, hanging onto my first wings risers, and finally come down. And what did I do? I was giggling. It was great. That was the best thing in the world until I took the 40-foot walk back to the cover out at Andy Jackson and got the riot act for it. Did I do it again? Oh yeah.
Hell yeah. That was fun.
Well, just so you guys know, I have been camping at the compound in the camper, just getting it warmed up for the fly-in. I'll be out there again this weekend, just camping. Nice. And even though I'm not going to be there, I'm going to be there before. So it's just,
I am so excited for that, man. I just saw even just getting little updates on where all the vendors are going to be and where everybody's going to be camping and where everybody's going to be flying out of. It's going to be an amazing time. I'm so grateful. Ripa's going to be my tour guide, and so I'm grateful for him.
I'm so jealous of that.
Am I able to share? I was flying, I believe it was Sunday morning, and stumbled across the coyote across the field. Mm-hmm. And I didn't get to kick it in the butt or nothing like that, but I did follow behind it at a safe distance, not to be considered molesting wildlife. But yeah, it was pretty awesome. I never seen a coyote in the wild before that I could follow.
Yeah, I saw 2 of them.
Hey, speaking of molesting wildlife, I just got a text that I have to read to everybody. All right, this is from Kyle. And he says, it's from Kyle O. And he says, because I said, hey, talking about you live on Zoom, gave the meeting number, and he comes back and says, tell good lies. So everybody tell good lies about Kyle. That's what he said.
That's cool. Yeah, Kyle's my dad. Kyle O's my father.
Bill H just brought up a good point too. I want to read and then I'll shut up. Always wear a helmet. Doesn't matter if you're clipped in your wing. Doesn't matter if you're not clipped in your wing. Anytime you kite, wear a helmet.
It's absolutely right.
I'm guilty of not doing that when I'm kiting. I should though. I agree.
I'll pull my wing up.
Nicole told me when we were at Swanee, if you really want to get on Santa's good side, go get your helmet on when you're kiting in front of him. So, I mean, if that's what Santa Croce would want you to do, that's good enough for me right there. Yeah.
Well, cool. Back to you, Dave.
Back to you, Shane.
All right. So tonight we had top sirloin grilled over. I did some zucchini and jalapenos on the grill. It was awesome. And back to you, Ruff.
Well, guys, hey, if you are not subscribed to Paramedic Crazy's channel, make sure you guys are hitting that subscription button and mash the notifications. He puts out excellent content, actually outdoes me and outdoes Gorilla every day of the week.
I'm not sure about that.
Back to you, Dave.
Apparently, Kelby Cox, to answer your question, I'm not sure if there are going to be food trucks at Bad Apples, but I'm sure there's going to be food there. Back to you, Shane.
I did put in my leave slip for Bad Apples. I will be leaving here Tuesday morning and staying until Sunday night.
So what day are you getting to Bad Apples? Then? You know?
What's that?
What day are you going to get to Bad Apples?
Tuesday, midday.
All right, I'll be there on Wednesday. I'll probably come in Wednesday or afternoon. So we don't need a food truck as long as you're there.
Hey, if we got power. I'll bring my smoker and we'll be ready to rock and roll.
All right, that's awesome. Back to you, Dave.
My itch. Back to you, Dave.
Make sure you're subscribing to Strike Flyers channel. He needs all of them that he can get because Paramotor Crazy is hot on his trail. I'm almost at 50.
I just crossed 2,100.
Congratulations. Weren't you supposed to give out some gifts or something every time you cross another 100?
Hey, you know what? Shut the hell up, dude.
I'm like 313, so I'm right behind you.
You're getting close. So I think we've pretty much covered the topic. Are you comfortable with all the information you got there, Shane? Did that answer?
Yes, I'm actually feel a lot of relief. I think I'm just going to go ahead and say something and understand that it could either come across as good information or a cocky pilot. Hopefully I get, somebody explain to me why they're set up the way they are or why they did what they did. A friend of mine this weekend took off, was not prepared when his feet left the ground and he got in his seat. His wing was actually almost at a 45 on takeoff. And when he landed, I was like, dude, why did you do that? And he goes, yeah, I should have ran it out a little further and controlled the wing. I was like, wait, but it was fine because I knew the guy. But what if it's someone you don't know? I'm going to go ahead and say something anyways, just because I would rather just someone say, don't worry about it. I got it. And know that I've tried to do my part. I would be fine with that. Other than not saying something and having someone get hurt, that would weigh on me greatly.
Yeah. Okay, so we've said this before. If you post videos on YouTube, you have to have thick skin. You open yourself up to criticism. God knows I have taken criticism. But now sometimes the comments I feel are totally incorrect, and sometimes they are dead on the money, and I've learned from them. For instance, I had a couple comments on the last video, and I think someone is in the chat that I saw that made a comment that I didn't have the wing under control, which may have been the perception. Of course, remember, in a video, we do edit some things too. But, in my video, I had this wind going every which way, and even though I didn't bring it right up over my head the first time, I purposely laid it down, brought it up a second time, did a reverse, and I was complete control of that wing. Someone else did, and I think it was JP that was the only, JP, I believe, just left a comment saying, looked like that landing was a little wonky. I don't think he used the word wonky, but he's the only one that was right and caught that I actually had a quick butt land. I bounced right up to my feet. But yeah, I was powered up before I landed and really should have gone around or kept going and then cut my motor off. I was too low, but he caught that. There was a time I had put out a video, and this is when I was flying the trike. I had never even noticed that this is going to scare the crap out of Dave when he hears this, but one of my carabiners was sideways.
Oh no, that's happened to me. It's actually not a big deal at all.
Well, no, not at all.
It kind of freaked me out when I go back. The riser was actually pulling on the gate.
What freaks you out is in flight, take that sideways carabiner and twist it back out. And when it locks, it's just like, whoa. Wow.
Yeah.
So it won't open.
But the thing is, and I actually just sent Todd Falstad a text message, and I said, I really miss how you used to give me tips and tell me what I could do better on the videos. So if you put out a video, you should be open to some criticism. I always like it to come off positively. Okay. but it still sets up an opportunity. And I would like more and more people to watch my takeoff, just like Todd was talking about in this video. And thank you, Rip Man. He did post a link earlier in the chat to Todd Falstad's video. Of course, if you just go on YouTube and you type in Todd Falstad or Yankee Paramotor, you'll be able to see that video we're talking about that just came out a couple hours ago. But I want to keep getting better. I want people like you, Shane, to say, hey, I see you're doing this when you're taking off. You know, just from my experience, when I do this, it kind of makes it a little bit easier. You may want to try that. I'm just a new guy, just came out of training, but you know, I don't know what I don't know, and if that helps you, is great. That's a real humble way to come across and say,
I just put out a video about, you know, I have a cooking channel and a flying part. You know, I'm all over the place. I have hunting, I'm cooking, I'm camping. It's everywhere.
Did he just call us honey?
No, hunting.
Oh.
Anyways, so a lot of the guys that don't know about the PPG part of my channel ask me what is the difference between forward and a reverse launch. Well, I was at the compound, and if you've ever flown out of the compound, we're flying out of the east side of the compound, where the wind is coming out of the east, and there are some really tall trees. A lot of turbulence come off of those trees. So I did my forward launch. Everything looked good, took off. Later that day, I did a reverse. And just as I get the wing up and I turn, you see the wing drop to the right. That's because of the turbulence. But I anticipated that. When you fly out of the compound, you have to understand that those trees don't look very tall, but Florida's flat. Anything that's higher than a foot is going to cause some problems for you when you're flying out there at the compound.
great advice.
So these trees are 20, even up to 40 feet tall, the Australian pines. And when you fly in front of those, you get all kind of craziness. I've taken off and gotten lift and dropped almost at the same time. It was crazy. Oh, look at there. What's up?
What
Krista, Krista, bring me my sunglasses. I want to be cool like this guy.
I'll be back.
I got my gorilla glass.
I can't see the screen.
No, I was just kidding, honey. Thank you, though.
Hey,
I
Josh,
did say it.
stop calling me Shirley.
But yes, the compound does have some weird winds. So those who have never flown, ask Ripa, because he knows all about it. He's been in and out of the whole place.
Yeah.
I'm just now learning. And if you're going to fly out at Palm Bay for the Sunfest, you're going to definitely want to wear flotation because there's water everywhere.
Really?
I just got told how I don't know about hunting. Come on now. Really?
That's kind of interesting that you say that there, Shane. You know, and Rick was talking about that last night about having flotation. So, Derek, I'll talk about the grunts in a second. I think I need to address that. So I don't have flotation.
You do grunt very well.
Okay, time.
But I also like
I
the
want to talk about
hard.
the flotation first. So how many pilots come to Palm Bay, and Ripman may know this answer, that don't have flotation on their devices? Of course they should, but how many don't? I was actually going to bring just a very like a life jacket that I go kayaking in, just to wear underneath, just in case.
Well,
that obviously won't save my ship, but it might save me.
I have a theory, like on my Nuvik Link 2, the cells that are in it, if you were to go in the water and you were to grab your A's, because the cells are not open at the end, if you were to grab your A's and climb up, would that not hold enough air to get you to the top? See, you understand what I'm saying?
I missed it. I missed what you were saying.
Okay, so
I need another beer.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so if you were to hit the water and you're at the bottom of your line, okay,
You're
and
in
you
trouble.
were able to grab your A's, the A's would pull the front of your wing down, which would lock in the air that are in the cells.
I don't
Yes or
think
no?
you'd be able to hold your breath long enough to come to the bottom of your wing.
Yes, I can. I free dive over 90 feet.
Okay. The rest of us humans.
So this is a theory that I've been working on. I've watched Tom jump into a pool.
Yeah, we saw that video. That was a great video.
Yes, it is. It's awesome. My thing is I have a friend of mine that's a certified diver. I want to get an older wing that I can actually dump into a Olympic sized pool with the motor on my back. I know you're smirking, but
no, I'm reading a Kevin Can Fly. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, Kevin Can Crash. It's Kevin Can Crash.
Kevin gave me some advice on that forward and that reverse thing, and I explained to him about the turbulence. I didn't take it as being defensive or whatnot. I just explained why my wing dipped the way it did, and I was thankful that Kevin pointed that stuff out. But back to my theory. If I was able to grab my A lines and A lines only, left and right, and pull myself up, would my wing hold air? Because it would literally put the front, so the air is going to be in a pocket here. Would I not be able to pull myself up to the surface?
Wouldn't you have easier time just unclipping and swimming out of that thing?
So in the military, when I was in the Navy in boot camp, what they taught us to do is take our pants off, tie knots in the legs, and then, bring it over. Yeah, exactly.
I learned that.
So yes, your wing would. However, as you're climbing up those A's, what are you going to do about all the other lines coming down on you?
You're only working with the two. The six. So you grab your left and your right, and you just come up to the top.
Once you're at the surface, what are you going to do about all those other lines that are floating and coming down on you?
You're not worried about those right now. All you're worried about is getting air. So if you get to the top and you're holding on and you're able to disconnect from your motor and you're still holding on, that motor's going to go back down. You're going to be holding on to the A's. After that point, you can, in theory, be able to swim away from everything else.
Dave, I got this. Shane, look at me. Look at me.
I'm looking.
You don't have your flotation hook, do you?
I do have my flotation on.
Then why are you asking these
doesn't
questions?
Matter. So, and let me throw my scent in there, okay? You just hit the water. You are now sinking. You are now in a state of panic, whether you believe it or not. Okay.
Right. I completely believe it.
Do you really think you're going to go looking and trying to pick out of this mess of cobwebs all around you now that you're trying not to get tangled in and just find just the A's and pull them? How much time do you think you have?
I don't think
it's test that theory and let us know how that turns out for you.
No, seriously, I want to do this. If I just had, I'm not going to take my $3,500 brand new wing and go dump it in a pool.
We're going to test the purpose of this show. Shane, I am now going to speak up and say, that's a really bad idea.
That's what the scuba diver's for. If shit goes awry, then I can just simply go, yo, bro, I need some air. I truly think in theory, I understand.
About something far more important. When it's cold out,
yes,
and you're moving around, you're gonna grunt.
No, I never grunt.
I think that's why I grunt. When I'm dressed
Dave,
in
I don't know if I like you grunting more or breathing hard more. I mean,
time too. I don't know what the hell is wrong with me. I really don't. I don't know.
You guys have okay, so I use a chest GoPro attachment that I put my phone on. And it does not pick up I guess I don't grunt because I don't really have grunting in my videos. Or now when I land, you'll hear me go,
Well,
with each step.
I plan on picking Rip Man's ear and figuring out how he stopped grunting in his videos because
he deletes the audio.
He used to grunt.
Yes.
I don't grunt.
Yeah, that's what he said. He edited his audio.
David, here's a funny thing. So I've noticed as our audio starts getting better, as our audio has gotten better, that it picks up every little noise. It picks up the breathing as if you're just like out of breath. You're not. You're breathing normally. And it's odd because this new Hero 8 that I have that I'm about ready to go ahead and post something, it picks up everything. And I think I even grunt in that, and I don't grunt.
You know what's funny? The McFly that Ripa was flying on Sunday, it picked up about a half a bale of hay when he took off. He flew the entire time, and he had this large clump of hay on the bottom of his feet, or actually on his toe of his shoe, for like a good 10 minutes. And then right before he gets ready to land, he's like, oh, there's some hay on the bottom of my feet. And it looked like just a trail of hay just floating down.
Shane, I think John is, if I'm reading this right, John Rivera made a comment. He says, what if your wing collapsed? So let's imagine you just hit the water and your wing is laying flat, but it's collapsed. Do you really going to take the time to try to look up and see what shape the wing is and then decide if you're going to pull A's, or are you just going to get the heck out of there and swim for safety?
Well, how are you going to get out of there if you can't get out of your harness?
Why wouldn't you be able to get out of your harness?
Hook knife. You should be carrying one. Shane,
And
is it?
Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Are you carrying a hook knife?
No. If a hook knife takes
I'm telling Nicole
seconds,
right now. Right now.
hold on. If a hook knife takes you 3 seconds to get through each strap, how many straps you got?
I got 1, 2, 3,
I'm gonna
4.
make this so easy for you. I can tell you you can get quick releases. One pull and you're out. Especially
See, the thing is, if I know I'm going in water, I'm unclipping or attempting to unclip before I hit that water. I'll wear my shoulder straps completely unstrapped.
Not if you have a collapse.
Okay. Well, then 12 seconds to start cutting, and I guarantee I could probably do it in about 7.
Faster than that. There's places, and I can tell you who puts them on your harness. It's a quick release. One pull and you're out of your entire harness. And I think, didn't Tom have that on his video?
Yeah,
I believe
think
he did.
But you know, I've seen those, and actually Andrew Fuller has them on the Sky
Fuller
Tap.
has them too. That's right.
I love them, but what if you hit that sucker mid-flight?
Don't.
Hey, just remember, I'm a newbie, so my theory is just not important right now because it doesn't matter because I'm a newbie. I'm just working on trying to find a wing that is no one wants. I need a wing that's been like left outside and behind somebody's shed that doesn't really matter anymore. And then I just need some center blocks and a harness, and I'll jump into a pool.
You know what I love?
So outside of hitting turbulence from a helicopter, aircraft, stuff like that, what's the probability that you're going to take a collapse during flight?
I have no idea.
If you're flying within reason, mornings, evenings, as a normal paraglider pilot does, or a paramotor pilot does, you're probably not going to take a collapse. I mean, unless something catastrophic goes wrong.
So when we're flying, is a like, so I have the Nuvik Link 2, which is intermediate. It's a 27-meter wing. I'm 230 pounds. Trims in or trims out makes this a safer, flyable wing. I've been told 2 different things. Trims in makes it safer. Trims out makes it safer.
You talking on reflex?
I'm talking on the Nuvik's Link 2 wing that I fly.
Is that a reflex wing?
I have no idea.
The way that I understand it,
refer to your
and
manual,
I may get it
talk
wrong.
to your instructor.
Yeah.
I did ask my instructor. He told me that trims out makes it a safer wing.
So it's probably a reflex. The way that I've heard it is that trims out does 2 things. 1, it loads the front of the wing, and 2, it smooths out turbulence. My question has always been with my Colorado, which is a reflex wing, is, okay, what if the turbulence is so bad that on trim out you take a collapse? Because then you've got yourself a real hot mess. And what I was told is you are probably not going to turn around and fly in that type of turbulence that's going to end up collapsing a reflex wing. Ever.
Right.
For you to actually let the trims out, get up in the air and then let your trims out. You're going to come down long before that.
Well, Saturday morning, like I said, I took off. Ground speed was it was like 5 miles an hour, but at 100 it was 22.
That's bad.
And the apps that the Carlton app that I use did not specify that. When I looked into Windy, it changed it. I was like, wait a minute, dude. So now I'm using like 6 different apps, and I'm using the average, if you will, because oh my God, I was so scared. My wing literally was shooting forward on one side and then coming back, dipping. And I'm like, okay, I have to actively fly this thing. So I'm pulling brake as it's shooting forward. But what happens when it dips? Now I'm like pulling this brake and then this, and
Go to the high side.
I was scared. I
Go to the high side. You basically lean on the high side.
Right. But I had enough calmness to know that I let off the gas. I floated down, and once I got into the 50-foot range, everything smoothed out. I was like, dude, I'm turning around and coming back. I lifted up to about 75 feet to get ready for landing, and the wing was doing all kind of crap. I was just like, you know what? I can't get into the exact approach. I know I look like a heavy guy because I am a heavy guy, but I can freaking run. And I knew even if I went downwind, I could run it out. And because the ground speed was not bad. Once you got under 15 feet, everything calmed down. It was like once you got off the ground, shit went crazy. But on the ground, you're like, oh, I was kiting my wing going, there's nothing here. I had to keep backing up to keep the wing in the air when I was trying to just kite it up. But as soon as I got off the ground, everything went crazy. And
Did
I
you
landed.
learn something that day?
Yeah. Look at several different apps. Don't just pick one.
No. What did you learn? Were there other people there?
Yeah, they all took off.
They all took off into it?
Did
you watch their wings? Well, did you watch their wings?
Yes. The guy that I went that we met out there and spent the weekend out there, he seemed to have no problem. He's flying a Pegasus 2. I mean, he said it was a little bumpy, but he came back in. My wing was it was shooting.
So when you watch other people fly, watch their wingtips, watch their wing, because you can see that little side. Even if they're doing everything that they need to be doing, you're still going to see that movement, that surge, if you watch really carefully. And then ask yourself, have I ever flown in conditions in which my wing is doing that? No. Well, then you probably shouldn't fly. Or if there's anybody else on the ground, any other pilots, ask them, hey, how is it today?
That's just when they let the person with very little flight experience take off. I was just like, why are they? I was like, holy crap! I just about died, and you're gonna say it's okay, go take a flight?
Well, because you are an experienced pilot, I mean, you do have flights underneath your belt, and as it was said in the beginning, it's pilot's discretion. It is a pilot's decision. What you need to be doing is, did you ask the qualifying questions? Did you do the qualifying research, both in watching the apps and also watching other people fly? Did you wait until one of them landed and said, hey, how is it today? Oh, it's not all that bad. Okay, well, what's their experience versus mine? What are they, flying versus mine? When it comes down to it, and like we said earlier, is no pilot should turn around and get on you for offering advice, but at the same time, no pilot should turn around and say, oh yeah, it's absolutely fine, just go up there. No, they should say, hey, there's some bumps, or hey, I was doing some active, or hey, Shane, what's your flight experience? How many flights have you had? Blah blah blah. Oh, that, well, you may not want to go.
What if the experienced pilot was like John Ripa? I totally kid.
I'd fly.
No. He said, so I told him Sunday he showed up, and I love John. I think the guy's phenomenal.
Oh, John he's
a damn good pilot. Good pilot.
He's becoming
he's like, I'll fly. I was like, you're gonna fly now? It's getting rough. He's like, I'd fly at noontime. I'm like, yep, not listen to him if I want to know what the weather is, because he's gonna send me up.
I'm finding my flight times are going from starting to cut off now at about 11:30 and starting to pick back up at about 2:30, 3 o'clock.
Really?
And over the past 2 or 3 years, that gap is starting to go like this. Now what I'm doing is every time I go home, I start bugging the hell out of Kyle. Hey, let's go do some mid-afternoon thermal practice. And I'm starting to launch just a little earlier and asking a lot of questions. And pretty soon I'm hoping it'll get to the point where I'll fly whenever I want to go fly, because I have the knowledge to take a look at the clouds, take a look at the weather, and say, hey, I'm making an informed decision. It's seat time, man. That's all it is.
how much different, golly, man. Because when it comes to Palm Bay, the other day, this past weekend, all day long, I literally had to park my truck this way and the camper this way to block some of the wind. It was blowing, howling, 25, 28 miles an hour. It hit 6 o'clock and it just died. And
that's what it does out here at Maricopa too. It seems like about a half hour before sunset, and it could be blowing 3 miles an hour, but just about that magic hour just dies.
Yeah, I love it, dude. I mean, we flew Saturday night after an all day. I mean, we got wind burned. We didn't get sunburned. We got wind burned from being outside all day long. And as soon as the sun started to go down, everything died. And we took off. I felt 2 little bumps, and next thing you know, I'm in butter air all day, or the rest of the
Shane,
day.
how much did you pay, or how much did Ripa pay you to say those kind words?
I can't. I don't know what you're talking about. What words?
Okay.
So I want to read you what Josh Perry just wrote. And this goes back to what Kyle O'Glee's latest video, I believe. He got so many. He was like 5 days there without a video. And I thought, did time just stand still? I haven't seen a video in like a day from Kyle. This is crazy. But Kyle talked about being patient, right? So Josh Perry wrote this a few moments ago. We check all the wind sites before we fly. We also call the ATIS at the closest airport, look at METAR, and observe ground conditions for about 30 minutes before we fly. So ask yourself that, Shane. Do you observe weather conditions for a whopping 30 minutes before you fly?
15 on the windsock, watching what the wind ribbon is doing.
Mm-hmm.
10 to 15, at least a cycle.
30 minutes to me is long time, but it's a very safe time. So I applaud him for doing that.
Yeah, I can't say that I do. I'm learning. So I watch Kylo's videos, and when he's talking about weather and wind, and my wife thinks I'm watching the most boring thing in the world. I'm like, this is going to keep me from dying, woman. Be quiet. But it literally is useful. I mean, super useful information that he videos all the time and puts out there. I just don't know how to apply it to my my area.
Observe. All you got to do is step outside, put a wind ribbon up, and just watch it. Watch the birds, watch the treetops.
We do. Everybody at the compound, they all have their. You got some guys like John that'll take off, I think, before he should, but he's a more experienced pilot than I am. I don't know. I just the windsocks, to me, I do watch them. I just don't necessarily know if I'm reading them correctly. It's an experience thing, and I'm every time I go out, I learn to watch them, and I learn to read them, and hopefully be able to.
Let me expand on something. Remember when I told you about that little book? Write down the conditions, go fly it. So when you land, write down your flight thoughts. How were the bumps? Where was the wind coming from? Where's the turbulence coming from? And then that's how you get to start knowing those areas that you're flying. So you have a reference to go back to. Okay, you know what? The wind's blowing 9. Oh, it was blowing 9 here. It was really turbulent. This is what, the sites that I read said, yeah, I think I can fly it. You go up, because you can always come back down immediately.
Right.
Go up there, experience it, come back down, write it down. And now all of a sudden you're starting to get that compilation of the micro meteorology. And this is something I've been doing now for about the past 7 months. And this actually came from Kyle, not that he told me to do it, but looking at his videos going, how the hell can this guy turn around and tell me what's going on in this little area? Because he's so in tuned into watching what's going on. Well, how's that going to apply to me, and how that's going to help me? Start those logs, log each flight. What happened? What were the winds? Where was it coming from? What, notable things did I notice? So I can go back to a site. I could go back to Ohio right now and say, okay, Dave, hey, let's go fly. Open up that book and say, okay, well, current conditions are this. Go back. Oh, this is what it was like. So I'm going to expect a bumpy flight. I'm going to expect a smooth flight. I'm going to expect, no, we maybe shouldn't launch, just based on observing both in the air and on the ground.
I like that. I'm going to have to start doing that, because honestly, I mean, it is important to know what the weather's doing. And honestly, I was taught correctly, but when I get out to where I'm at in my own little field, sometimes it's difficult to understand what's going on. But if I had
Dave,
logs,
you have 2 areas that you fly. I've flown both of them. When you go out to Red Stewart or when you go out to the other airport and you're not looking at your phone for weather conditions or anything else, what goes through your head as you go out there and make the conscious decision to launch or not, based on not your friends, not looking at any information?
So what am I gonna do? I go to Red Stewart. I think the first thing I'm doing before I even leave the house is I'm looking at the clouds. I'm looking at the trees and see how they're blowing. Get out to the field if I feel it's still safe. And I'll probably stand and just close my eyes and put my arms out to the side like this and feel the direction of the wind and feel how it's coming at me, if it's pretty steady or not.
Does it feel like the last time? Yeah.
Put up my windsock, watch that for a couple minutes. Start setting up my wing, kite it a little bit, see how that's reacting to the wind. Keep my eyes on the windsock. I just saw Tony put up a comment here, and he uses my idea as well. Baby powder.
Yeah, that gets in my eyes every time, dude.
I don't smoke and I don't do a vape. So for me, it's pull the baby powder out, give it a little squeeze, see where the wind's coming and how it's moving. And I do that as I'm setting up, and I do it one more time before I launch, just to see if it's in the same direction. I have no issues. Rarely, really do I have an issue with launch.
Yep. You're observing your conditions, and you know that condition because you keep on flying it. So every time you're able to go outside, take a look at the weather and feel the weather and say, okay, hey, it's good. It lines up within a certain parameter. And that's, Shane, that's exactly what you should be doing. And I, like I said to everybody watching, recommend pulling that notebook out, write down the conditions, write down what the flight was like, and save that, and then start putting them into different sections. So if you know the wind is blowing at 7, go to your 7 mile per hour gusting 9 section. Well, this is what it was last time. It's within those parameters. I'm going to go launch because I know it's probably going to be a smoothish flight, some bumps. And then also, as you're flying, start noticing where the thermal generators are and where the rotor sections are, so you know where all that is. You know what to expect.
So I like that idea, Dave. I actually keep a spreadsheet of all my flights and log it. So not so much, I guess, for the Atom 80, because I actually never was told to put a tactometer on my fresh breeze. Go figure why. So I've always just kept the hour log, so I know when to do my maintenance, a certain maintenance on my fresh breeze. But I've always kept a log of how many flights and how many hours. But I'm gonna start doing that too on the spreadsheet. And the reason I like the spreadsheet is because then you can set up formulas to calculate your hours on each motor. So, and then you start, pick another column, put your conditions down, I always put where I was flying. I always, put a little comment just to remember that flight. I could look at any flight and I can remember exactly that flight in my memory. But I'll tell you one thing, I certainly will remember those conditions at the Swanee fly-in and how that rotor came over the tree and caused me to have a bad launch there that Sunday morning.
Yeah, that rotor coming off those trees at Swanee was ridiculous. I watched everybody kiting, and they were all fighting to keep the wing up.
I got some bump tolerance at that fly-in. I gained some bump tolerance coming in.
I'm so glad I left my gear at home. I really am. Yeah, smartest thing I ever did, other than married my wife, but that's another subject.
It'd be great to just go to a fly-in one day, pick a morning, set up a Ripman camera, start videotaping everybody, but just watch everybody and make little comments to yourself. This person could have done this better, or this person's takeoff was fantastic, or this person's landing, he didn't do this. And you go back and watch those videos. Doesn't matter who it is, but you're learning from everybody else as you're watching all these pilots go out and come back in. It's a good way to learn.
One of my favorite things to do is be the first off the ground at a fly-in and one of the first on the ground at a fly-in, because then I go grab my chair and a beer and sit in there, watch people launch, watch people land, and you start learning a lot just by observing.
I had the greatest time. I even watched Ripa blow a prop during the fly-in.
You're really getting on his case. You are not being nice to him.
No, I love Ripa, dude. God, he's really a nice guy. He came in.
Blow that prop too.
Yeah. But he's not the only one I watched blow a prop. I watched the same guy in the same morning blow 3 props. Literally 3.
Oh, I missed that.
How do you do that?
he blew one the day before too. He had four.
Lord.
I was just like, he was running, trip and fall, boom. Then he went and got his new prop put on and ran, fell, and boom. And then he went back and got another one, and then he jumped in a seat and smacked the ground. 3 props in one morning.
I'm fixing to edit a video in which you guys will see me pull out my Buzz Z5, which is my free flight wing that I haven't flown in about 6 to 8 months, and hook it up to my motor yesterday or the day before. And it kicked my ass. In fact, so much to the point that I ended up cutting the sheathing on one of my C lines, and the main core wasn't compromised. So I ended up taking some super glue, pulling it back together, put some super glue on it because it was fine to fly, and get real humbled in landing and takeoff because it's a much slower wing. I'm used to a faster wing, and getting really humbled. And I'm actually going to post that, my failures in it, because as a pilot, it doesn't matter how good you are, or how good you think you are. It's getting to know that equipment and the way that it operates. And I just happened to let it go way long and get humbled.
I think Trike Flyer's next adventure, I really believe, Dave, we would see some awesome videos out of you by you getting a tandem and taking people up. Do it with the people that work with you. Do it with people as you go. I would go up on a tandem with you. I think we would have an absolute blast doing a tandem flight together.
I've got 2 machines that are tandem capable, but I will not do a tandem until I take a SIV class.
We just lost Shane.
Yeah, we did. I won't do a tandem until I take an SIV class.
A what?
An SIV.
Oh, I never heard you say you were going to take an SIV class before.
Civ.
Oh, a Civ class. Now
yeah, Civ class. I won't do it until I take a Civ class or SIV class, and I won't do it until I put myself through a school, which I'm actually already prepaid with One Up Adventure to go through their tandem training.
Yeah.
Once I do that, I've got employees that say, hey, I want to go up. I've got friends. Hey,
that'd
I
be
want
a
to go
blast.
up. So I'll do it, but
that'd be
it's one of the reasons why this little Black Bull is teaching me how to refly trike again. So I feel comfortable on my 250, and that 250 is going into a tandem. Actually, my first tandem is going to be a 90-pound cement bag that has been watered down, so it's nice and cementy. So I'm going to take it about 300-400 feet over my lake and drop it just to see what happens.
That's a little bit more than Maria is, isn't it?
Yeah, Maria's about 110 pounds.
Wet?
In there.
110 pounds of wet?
I don't know. She's a little ball of fury if you tick her off.
She's about 300 pounds of fury.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, being my manager and everything, when I screw up, she actually fired me on Saturday. I got fired.
Cool. I'm not sure how that's possible, but that's cool.
Well, I got fired Saturday morning. I went flying and got rehired Sunday morning. So, it was good.
They did mention that in the in video, didn't she?
Yeah.
I did catch that in there.
Well, and I'm sure you're the same way, and I'm sure everybody watching is too. Man, if you don't fly for 3 or 4 days, does your mood start changing?
I think I should come up with a new term for it. Maybe call it blue wing.
Yeah.
I call it blue wing. I'll call it blue wing. I get blue wing.
Yeah,
that's how I feel.
I mean,
goes by, I feel like I'm ready to strangle somebody.
Sarah knows it. Sarah was around me when I didn't fly for like 21 days, and she finally looked at me and said, "Get the hell out there. I don't care what the weather's like. Go fly." And I did. Yeah. And it was a good day to go do it.
I'm a whole different person after I flew.
Oh, yeah, I am too. I'm much more peaceful, much more agreeable. And it's been 2 days now, and
if I go 2 days, I'm like, I gotta go get enough. I was watching again Yankees video. I'm like, I need to get up in the ER. It's been 2 days. Yeah. It's killing me.
Yeah, it's amazing. I won't fly again probably until Thursday or Friday. But I get much more than about 7 days, and I start getting really ornery. So
Tony asked, what's the reason for a tandem, money maker or fun? I think it depends on your business.
You cannot take a tandem up for fun. It's for instructional purposes only.
That's right. But you don't have to take money for it either.
No. And when I do tandems, I'm still playing with the idea of instruction or not. I've been flying for 4 years. I have been around instructors, and I have been around new students flying, soloing right there with the instructor. I've talked to students. I've taught kiting. the thought of putting somebody up in the air when I do the kiting and then that disconnect to, okay, it's time for them to put a motor on their back and get ready for solo, it freaks me out. It freaks me out.
Really?
I know you've done it. You taught your son how to fly,
I
and he's a
didn't
good
have
pilot.
much fear. I mean, obviously, I didn't want to send him the first time, being that was the first person I ever taught. So I took him up to Kurt to launch him, which I still felt more comfortable than me taking a chance on me. That's the only reason I took him up there. I completely taught him everything he knew before he needed to go up there.
Well, I know Sarah is going through Kyle, and I'm perfectly capable of teaching her how to kite and get her to the point to where she's ready for tow. And I could probably even launch her, but no, even if I did that, I'd take her right, to Kyle and say, hey, look, this is what I've done. Check her out and finish her out. It's a cute cat.
You can do it.
Meow. Such a kitty. It's a kitty.
Can you see her?
Oh, yeah.
There she is. This is Nora. She's the baby of the 5.
Aw.
She hates me. She absolutely hates me.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah. No, she does. Like, ready, I'll let her go, and she'll go, goodbye.
Oh, that's why she hates you. I heard that thump, man.
Oh, that was my hand hitting this. Well, let's wrap it up for the night. I'm grateful everybody came on.
So.
Shane just texted me. He lost his signal, but he's really grateful that we were able to help him out with that question, and hopefully that helps somebody. So what I love about this is, we have our Sunday night show. Dave has his fun Wednesday night show. There's the other 2 shows during out the week. There's more people that are coming up with shows. Shane wants to, once he gets a computer that he can do this, he wants to start a little show as well. And that's absolutely fine. I think the more people that are doing the shows, if you don't want to watch, you don't have to watch. If you like the person that's doing the show, you watch. But, if we can have these little ad hoc things, if we have the time to do it.
These are fun, yeah.
Yeah, a little subject like this, you can tune in if you want. You can participate. You don't have to. So, if it was just me, you, and Shane talking, that would have been fine too. I'm glad to see so many people showed up tonight. That's wonderful.
50 people. And hey, guys, I saw 50 people on. We're down to 46. I see 24 thumbs up. Hit those thumbs up, guys.
That's okay.
Help Paramotor Crazy out. That's how these things get out.
Okay. I'm just grateful that we have a community and we have this YouTube, this Zoom means that we can freely get on and have these group chats, these discussions, and learn from each other. I love it. Yeah, John says great spontaneous show. I agree, and it's because of everybody's participation. It's not just Dave or myself or someone like Shane asking the question. It's everybody's participation that invokes this thought that helps to teach each other, teaches me. So I'm grateful for everybody that shows up and gives me their insight. So there you go.
Yeah, this, I absolutely agree with you. When we get the idea that, hey, we're going to go on, here's the code and stuff like that.
Tony, I love you too. No homo. Why do we have to say like that?
you gave us homo in chat the other day. Hey, by the way, did you see what happened last night when Gorilla got up?
Yeah, he had no pants on again.
Did you see him crawl back forward up into his chair?
No, I didn't see that. I missed that. I'll have to go watch.
Yeah, thank God, because we would have gotten a front view. Guys, this is what happens in pre-show. My eyes are still burning from last time in pre-show.
I watched the replay. I always watch the replay either right after the show as I'm laying in bed, or I watch it the next day just so I can see what we did and see what I can do better, or if my audio sounded like crap, what I need to change or adjust. So, but oh gosh, we come out, Nicole hit the live button, Rick dropped something off the table, and I just started busting up laughing. It's like a great way to start a show, Ricky.
Sorry, guests. I mean, yeah, this is normal.
It's like, could we look like a bigger bunch of clowns at times? But it's all fun. We do this because it's fun and it's educational, and because we love to fly and we love paramotors. So that's why we do it.
It's getting the information out there and having a fun show in which you can bring your family to and watch. And that's a lot of the reason why we did the After Dark. It's more kind of the looser side.
We can have views like this, right?
Yeah.
These beautiful, amazing sunsets that we get to enjoy, just picturesque, that people can only dream about and think that we're just studs for doing it.
Well, where else can you do that childhood dream that most of us had anyway, at least I did, is being able to run off the ground.
I had a customer, my 10 o'clock appointment today was a customer. He was 25 years in the Apache helicopter pilot.
Oh man.
And I think he was 25 years there. His son-in-law right now is flying an F-16 for the Air Force.
Oh.
And so we, of course, got into the subject of paramotors, and his eyes were like lighting up. Like as we were talking about, I always talk about paramotors with every customer, just always comes up. And I said, look, man, there's no more pure form of flight where you can fly right down over a buck, which I've gotten to do, or fly over toxic waters at turquoise toxic waters
Yeah.
at Emeritus, Georgia, at the Bad Apples Flying. So we're very blessed. We're very blessed. But let's wrap it up here.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody.
Back to you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. All right, so we'll see you Wednesday night on Dave Ruff's channel.
Yeah, Wednesday night. What time is it?
Well, you started at 8:00 Eastern time.
Yeah, so it's 8:00 Eastern time,
I
6:00 Pacific. Although I don't know, because we're fixing to. Well, we don't go through the time change next week.
That's
you
Sunday.
Guys all do.
That's Sunday.
Yeah.
But then
okay,
also,
so we won't do it.
the Sunday night we've got Shane Denherter. The following Saturday, Dave's going to do a broadcast. We're still working out the time on that, from where we're going to be connecting in with, I think, Ripa's computer at Palm Bay. The week after that, who do we say? The week after that, is our anniversary special. We're going to be having Brandon McLeod is going to be joining us again, who started off the very first episode of the show a year ago. March 17th was our first show. And then after that, we've got Kyle Matula, I believe, is the show after that. And then after that, Dave's going to be hosting Tom Kubat. And then that's
actually real quick, guys, on the whole, the Tom Kubat out, the fly-in thing that you and I were talking about doing, guys, with my signal, we're going to be doing this Saturday night. Watch for the times on it, because that Sunday or that Saturday night, I'm probably going to put it an hour later. So that way I'm guaranteed signal out here so I can host it. So keep on watching the site and make sure that you guys, it's going to be Saturday night, and it's probably going to be an hour later from normal, our Paramotor Nation.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. Everybody have a good day tomorrow. We'll talk to you later.
See ya.
All right. Bye. Oh, wait a minute. I got to do it this way. All right.